We haven't to panic with what's going on in the country today. I mean, you feel like panicking, don't you? As more elections are cancelled, mayoral elections have been cancelled by Labour, in cahoots with the Tories, may I say. So don't be thinking it's all Keir Starmer. They're working together on this, which is why I'm always banging on about not being able to trust them, because it doesn't matter what they're coming out with now. Kemi Badenoch and Jenrick, they could have all have done what they're talking about while they were in power, but they didn't. They didn't stop the boats. They don't want to. No one wants to. They want them to come in. If they wanted to stop the boats, it years to sort the legislation out. There's legislation in place to stop them, but they never chose to use it. So whatever problems we are faced with, whether it's things to do with the rollout, whether it's things to do with free speech, we are only going to get traction when we get a change of government. We have to get that icebreaker through to stop this two-party stranglehold. The elections that have been cancelled, the mayoral elections, that actually affects 7 million people. That's 7 million people, many of which won't be very happy about this because they were hoping for a change of governance. They didn't want Labour anymore, especially in the Labour seats. And even in Lancashire, it's happening. They want to make this metropolitan council where Blackpool merges with Lancashire County. The trouble with that is Lancashire County have still got some money. Blackpool are absolutely skinned because it's been run by Labour for God knows how long. So what do you think is going to happen when the merger happens? They're going to take the money and spaff it away on batshit crazy stuff. So unfortunately, we're going to be faced with this sort of stuff perpetually. The other thing as well, Labour can't just stop jury trials. They might be able to talk about it, but what we've got to remember here, who is David Lammy? He's just a transient politician, a nobody, a nothing. He's not some great statesman. And I'm going to quote what Peter Hitchens wrote on his own Twitter page. Weird the way so many media report the evisceration of juries as if the government can just do this. And it is a fait accompli. Neither House of Parliament is under any obligation to pass this measure, and they never mentioned it in Starmer's mendacious manifesto. Add that to the fact that in 2020, David Lammy himself said, jury trials are a fundamental part of our democratic settlement. Criminal trials without juries are a bad idea. The government need to pull their finger out and acquire empty public buildings across the country to make sure that this can happen in a way that's safe. Now, that's what he said because the Tories were in. You see how duplicitous they are? That's what he's saying when the Tories were in power. And let me tell you something else that Stephen Barrett told me, because we WhatsApp each other. He's a barrister. He's always on GB News. He's excellent. Our courts aren't open every day of the week, and they work, I think, 10 till 4. You could soon get rid of any backlog if you work 9 till 5:30, and if you employ more people and open the courts every day of the week. You could soon get rid of the backlog if you stopped arresting people for social media stuff, which is just the written word. So there's so many things could go towards getting rid of this backlog in a natural, generic way, rather than taking away our rights. This is the first signs of totalitarianism. You look at any dictator from Mussolini to Adolf, they all did this. They all wanted to take the right away to be tried by your peers. Now, you might sit there thinking, well, it doesn't matter to me. I'm never in trouble. I'm good. I bet Lucy Connolly thought that, don't you? I bet Lucy Connolly made that tweet. 4 hours later, took it down, thinking better of it because she'd just vented her feelings. Everyone was angry at the time when Axel Rubacabana slaughtered those kiddies. And yet that was screenshot and retweeted by the malicious left to draw attention to what she'd written because her husband was a Tory councillor, and that led to her arrest, subsequent denial of bail, and serving over 320 days in a women's prison. But thankfully Lucy Connolly's come out fighting, and I'm exchanging with her in WhatsApp because this is a woman of integrity that should never have been near a jail cell. We all know that. But how long is it before we're all Lucy Connolly? You know, what would you think if I was arrested? What have I done but share my opinion with yours and you seem to agree with it? Is that now wrong in this day and age? It is under this government. So what we have to do is be vigilant, and we have to blog in a responsible fashion. I generally do. But if we want change, if we want to be listened to, we want people to take notice of us, we can we will actually have to wait until we get a new style of government. The Americans were faced with the self-same setbacks when Biden was in. They were climbing up the walls. They didn't know where to turn. Then all of a sudden, Trump got back in. He didn't get back in because Elon Musk did things to his algorithm on his platform. And he didn't get back in because people spent obscene amounts of money on his campaign. He got back in because the public was sick of being poorer than they were the year before. Does that ring any bells to you? It rings bells to me. Chocolate 3 times the price it used to be. Wine shot through the roof. Lloyd Grossman cooking sauce, £2 a jar, dearer than it was 2 years ago. Get a grip, people. The cost of living is 3.6%. The cost of living is sky high. We're living like one of these Scandinavian countries where everything's expensive but everything works. The health service is good, the road systems are good, there's no potholes. But we haven't got any of the benefits because unfortunately our politicians take the money from us, from our tax system, and then, unbeknown to us, not in any manifesto, take that money and spend it in someone else's country. And we're sick of it. Thankfully, the elite, the sensible end of the elite, are waking up to the fact that they've been patsies. Useful idiots, that's what they've been called, useful idiots, because they've jumped on everything from the green bandwagon to basically freedom of speech, other issues, to be wheeled out, to spout their rhetoric. Let's face it, the powers that be have used Hollywood for years. And what's happened now with Hollywood? Many people turn their backs. Audiences for the Oscars and the Emmys are 60% down. That's because people can't be bothered with them anymore. We're not interested in the sanctimonious bullshit. And the wheels are falling off the elite's wagon. And it's going to continue doing that. It's a race, really. And unfortunately, the underdog, us, we're winning. It might not feel like it because you've seen all this stuff unfold, their intention with digital ID. They now want to have facial recognition in every single town in the country. Why is that? Who let unsuitable people in? So basically, we have to get through our Biden years and then you'll see a different story. Cancelling the elections is a show of weakness from both parties. The Tories are in cahoots with this. So what you've got to recognise is, if you want your country to change, if you want it back to any semblance of what it used to be like, the Tories aren't going to give it you. Because the Tories should be glad that this election's coming up. They should be as glad as we are to get rid of Labour, shouldn't they? They should be pleased to see Labour getting a hammering in the polls. Instead, they're backing them up because they're afraid of losing their own seats, because they too have been ineffectual and they've betrayed us. Never forget it. You cannot trust the Tories. If they are really conservative, then they dump the badge and they walk across the floor and they go to reform. It's that simple, because that's where conservatism lives now. If you're still donning that Tory badge, I'm sorry, you can say all the right things at all the right times. I will never believe you, because your party has been anything but conservative. You have been socialist light, and I will never trust you with my vote again, no matter who you stand in front of me. In fact, the only way I'd trust the Tory party is if Nigel Farage took it over and moulded it into what it should be today, a modern version of what Thatcher created with a few twists that suit modern times. So no, I don't trust the Tories any more than I trust Labour, but I am absolutely convinced that as long as we get an election, we will be able to make Britain different and better.